Imagine there was once a large stately home that had a reputation over it to bring doom and gloom to its occupants. You would hear creaking sounds, weird whooshing thingamajigs, and those spooky things would be happening inside of this house. These creepy sounds would come closer and closer until you finally see the vision, the specter, the ghost of an unkempt, malnourished man with a large, scruffy beard, and to his arms and his legs he had chains that he rattled at you. Anyone would be forgiven to just assume this was some modern tale of any other ghost story, a haunted house, yay. But no, this is actually the oldest account of what we would call a ghost story, and it's 2,000 years old. Welcome to Morbid History, and this is the first part of Ghost History, and we're starting in Rome, ancient times. Let's get into it.
Morbid History.
So, yeah, this whole ghost story that we began with, it was actually called the Haunted House of Athens, and it's a very famous one. And I know Athens is not Rome. The thing is that the story was written down by a man called Plinus the Younger. I'm guessing that's a very important distinction. He was the younger one. He wrote this down 100 after death, as it's called, 100 AD. And the story is supposed to happen in Athens like 100 years prior to him writing it down. So either way, it was written down in ancient Rome, and it was about the haunted house in Athens. And how does the story end? Well, the story began, like I said, with a oogie spooky dooky little house in Athens that was very big and splendorous and everything, all that, but no one wanted to live in it because it was said to be haunted, and that anyone who lived there would be unable to sleep and just live in fear all day and all night. Not a fun time to be had at all. But then, suddenly, Plinus the Younger wrote down that a Stoic philosopher with a very cool name that I can't pronounce, I'm gonna try to read it here. Athenodoros, the philosopher. I'm gonna say the philosopher. A Greek Stoic philosopher with a good name. He came there and he saw the house and was like, I wanna live there, it's a very nice house. And everyone was like, no, it's scary, no one can live there. But the philosopher, he was like, I want it even more now, actually. So he bought it and moved himself in, super happy about his decision here. And as night came upon him, he sat down in his little chair and his little desk, and he started writing philosophical things down. The evening was going great, and it was calm. The calm before the storm, as someone would say, I guess. Suddenly, he would start hearing the rattling of chains, and it just came closer and closer and closer to him. He was very into his writing, though, and didn't flinch. When he finally got annoyed enough by all this rattling, he looked up and saw this malnourished bearded man with his chains, like trying to get the philosopher's attention. The philosopher simply calmly put his hand up in a gesture to say to the ghost man, shh, not right now, wait a little, just wait a little, okay? And he continued writing, and the ghost continued rattling until he gave up. And by that I mean the ghost gave up. He was tired after a while when he realized that philosopher man will not look up from his very important papers, so I guess the ghost just stood there waiting. So finally, after a bit of waiting, philosopher man was done with his work for the night and looked up at the ghost and just went like, yeah, hey, what you want, pal, I guess. And the ghost lumbered away out into the courtyard with his chains and all. There he pointed at the ground, and the philosopher looked at the ground and then up again, and the ghost went poof, gone. Philosopher man decided that this must have some kind of significance. I need to remember this place. So he took a bit of grass and placed it atop as to remember the next day where it was. He went to the authorities of the time the next day and said, hey, we need to go and dig a hole in my courtyard. And everyone wanted to do that, I think, because they did. They went there and they dug a hole into the courtyard. And what did they find there? A skeleton, of course, wrapped around in chains. Good. What did they do with that then, that information? They went ahead and took out the skeleton man and gave him a proper burial, and after that the house was unhaunted, and the philosopher man had gotten himself a very cheap but splendorous house out of it. Fantastic. As wondrous and great of a story as that was, Plinus was a man of wants and needs, and one of those needs was to answer that burning question, was ghosts really real? So he sent this story in a letter to another fellow Roman man and ended it with an inquiry as to what the recipient thought of it all. Plinus was actually a believer. Yes, he believed in ghosts, but he still wanted to ask. You can't just sit here and declare that all ancient people believe in ghosts, though, because that's not true at all. There was a healthy amount of skeptics and what we would say atheists then as there is today. You can't just brush them all with the same comb. Is that even a saying outside of Sweden? Either way, you either believed or you didn't, just the same as we do today. Trying to pin down what the believers, though, did believe is pretty hard, because there's plenty of contradictive anecdotes. Some said that ghosts could predict the future, so you could ask them questions about this, that, and the other, while others said that they couldn't even comprehend anything outside of their otherworldly realm. Others said that they hated freckles, you could only see them in a mirror. Some said that you could not see them in mirrors at all. Some said that they could be hurt by swords, and some said they couldn't be hurt by anything at all. It all depended, I guess. But what could be universally agreed upon was that there were good ghosts and bad ghosts. Some were guardians called manes, who were ancestors, and they just wanted to help and do you good. Fantastic. Then you had lemures, which were dangerous. They would spook you, harass you, and they were not a good time. Usually that was because something bad had happened to them in life, or you just didn't give them a proper burial. Not fun. Whichever camp you found yourself on, there were celebrations, yes, yearly celebrations that were given to the ghosts to keep them nice and appease them. In February of each year, they had a celebration called Parentalia, and that just went as such that you would place some offerings on memorial spots or grave sites. It was supposed to be a very quiet and calm celebration though, and high-ranking people would dress down a lot, as to not provoke the spirits or ghosts by showing off that you're still alive and they are not. Simple clothing and offerings, and don't provoke the dead by being alive. Parentalia. Then later on in May there was Lemuria. In this celebration, Lemuria, offerings were also laid out, but it was celebrated at home, where the man of the house would have to walk around barefoot and greet any unseen guests, ghosts, and really show them proper respect, but anyway, kindly and firmly send them away again. He would drive his point home by throwing black beans about at the unseen guests, ghosts, and repeat, "With these beans I buy my family back." He would also be hitting pots and pans to scare off the ones who were not afraid of black beans. Fantastic! Anyway, these celebrations were done to keep the spirits happy and calm. It's what they did, and we can only accept it. And to top it all off, what did they think that ghosts look like? And even here we can't get a clear view. Some accounts say that they were like black, dark entities with pale faces. Some accounts were more like the ghosts that we think of today, translucent floating specters. And some, because cremation was very popular during these times, said that ghosts would show up as black smoke. Which makes a lot of sense. To summarize, it wasn't very different from today. They took many shapes and forms, and the one thing we can agree upon is that they, for some reason, were stuck here on Earth, that their spirits had left their body and were now lingering on, either as helpful guardians or haunting houses, because someone did not bury them properly, which is a very common theme. Either way, it's a kind of ghost that we can still recognize today. In the next episode, we will go on to medieval times and look at what the medieval people thought of ghosts. I want to thank all my channel members and my Patreon members for the support. It's thanks to you that I'm even able to make these episodes, because yeah, I'm a poor little hermit and I really need it, so thank you so much. Either way, stay amazing, stay hydrated, and most of all, stay morbid. See you soon. Bye bye!